All right, so I started the recording. So if it's okay, if every one of you can maybe give a really short introduction about yourself, and then we can get on to the interview.
Sure. So I'll start. So it's Raz Toor here from Falcon Law PC. So I'm a lawyer with the firm, and I founded the firm along with my colleagues in 2020. So at the onset of the pandemic, I would say around March 2020, April 2020. And next of all, we've got.
My name is Aneal. I'm a third year student in the dual JD program at the University of Windsor and University of Detroit. I'm getting some good experience here at Falcon Law as a summer student, working in construction law and business law.
Hey, I'm Karan. I recently moved from India last year. So I'm working with Falcon Law for about close to 11 months now. I'm pursuing a paralegal from Centennial College. So it's a 1-year program and I should be done in December this year.
Cool, awesome. So thank you guys so much for the introductions. Now, just to kind of start this interview off, I wanted to backtrack a little bit and kind of talk about your undergraduate program and your kind of university experience. So if you could tell us a little bit more about your undergraduate program, what program did you major in, if there's any specific courses that you might recommend for pre-law students?
So Christiane, I think your question is with respect to undergrad degrees. So I actually don't have an undergrad. So I actually went to law school after high school, a year or two after high school. So I didn't get an undergrad, and my undergrad degree is my law degree. So it's my grad degree and my undergrad degree. So I can't really comment on that as to which courses and activities and all that kind of stuff you should take. But I think the person who's better suited to answer this question is Aneal.
So I went to the University of Leicester. I did a double major in philosophy and political science. Regarding courses, I'd say courses that stress logic are probably more important. So philosophy was very helpful with that when it comes to understanding abstract concepts and putting together a logical string of arguments. That helps everything flow along, whether it's reading or actually coming up with arguments. That helps a lot. I'd say also get used to writing courses. But legal writing is different than general writing. I know a lot of students that came from journalism backgrounds, for example, they've got a lot of experience in writing. However, when it came to legal writing, I found that they had some difficulty sort of getting over that curve. Besides that, I'd say if you're actually interested in learning more about law, taking whatever sort of law courses they have, whether it's a health law or just general law, like a general law course, that gives a good primer and some good background knowledge. But yeah, anything logic-based. So philosophy is good, economics, math, those are all good to get the gears turning.
What about you, Karan? Do you have any advice in terms of undergraduate programs?
For me, it's also a little bit different. I'm an engineer by profession. So it's like a midlife career change for me. Raz founded this company last year. So I got a chance to look at the legal aspects of working in Canada, and I liked it and I jumped into it. So for me, I can say that you can always get into a legal field or maybe do a midlife career change if you want to do it. And yeah, that's about it. I'm enjoying my...
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So again, I don't know if Christiane told you, but my name is Momina and I'm the co-host for today, but I apologize, my Wi-Fi is being spotty. So if I'm in and out, that's why. It's not like I don't like you guys or don't want to interview.
You're good.
Raz, my next question is for you specifically. You said that you didn't actually do an undergraduate degree and you jumped straight from high school. So my question is, in terms of applications, what did you really say in your application that made you stand out so much to law school that they accepted you fresh out of high school?
I mean, I'm trying to think back to applications. I think I had a good career in high school, so I had pretty good grades and I had good experiences. Like I was a part of multiple clubs. I think DECA. There's various other ones that I was a part of that I can't remember at this stage. I would say a combination of good grades and a combination of good activities, clubs, extracurriculars. I was able to put that into my law school applications. and I was able to get into law school. So I did go to law school in England. I don't know if I mentioned that before. And then, yeah, I mean, I was accepted to multiple places as far as I remember, and I chose to accept the University of Leicester.
That's really cool. I actually know a couple people who are thinking to go to law school in England. So I guess the question would be, how was your law school experience, specifically in England? Because like I said, I know a lot of people some people are having doubts of going to law school abroad. Some people are saying staying here is better. So I wanted to kind of know your opinion on that.
I had a fantastic experience. It was very enjoyable. I left when I was very fresh and very young. So I went with an open mind. I think I learned a lot about the culture there, about, living abroad, living away from my parents. I learned a lot about the law. So for me, it was a fantastic experience. I can't really compare it to law school here because I've never been to law school here. But just on a personal level, I think it was awesome. The teaching was great. The professors were fantastic. The facility was great. Just being in England and having the proximity to all the neighboring cities and neighboring countries, that was fantastic as well. And I love the part of it that there was students from all over the world in England. Like we had students from all over the EU. And I was able to interact with them, mingle with them, and become friends with a lot of them. I think that was a very enjoyable part of my career in Leicester.
Thanks, Raz. It's always interesting to hear international students, or especially like lawyers who took very different paths rather than the traditional route and their experiences. So, Karan, my next question is actually for you. I wanted to know what specifically steered you towards law, especially because you were an established professional in a completely unrelated field. I'm pretty sure I read that you had like 10 plus years of corporate management. So, what exactly happened that you decided to suddenly jump into the law business?
Yeah, so I'll just go a little back. In India, I worked with Vodafone for about 10 years in role of marketing and customer services. And prior to that, I spent like a 1 year in a startup. So I always wanted to be part of a startup organization, the kind of growth it can give to you. And plus, coming to this firm, so the perspective which Hamraz had and his partners had was a little different. So we are not a traditional law firm. We are looking at doing things digital way, maybe getting into automation and all this stuff as to how we can digitally do the transactions which are done in a pretty old standard way across all the law firms across all the countries. So yeah, so that kind of a thing as to how we can automate the law, make it more digitalized, is kind of a more of a marketing and a customer service experience, which yeah, I like that part, and so I started with it.
That's really interesting. The whole idea of, I mean, like digitalizing law, that's really, really cool, especially in this kind of era now. We're always, I guess, moving towards more technological advancements. But I guess a follow-up from that, were there any skills that you obtained while working as a corporate manager that were transferable to Falcon Law and kind of helped you progress?
Yeah, the basic skills would be as to how do you treat your customers. You have to provide best in class customer experience.
Mhm.
How do you manage your things day to day life? How do you manage your time, your activities? How do you prioritize the things which have to be done? So yeah, all those aspects of managing a business and dealing with your customers do come handy whenever you are working with a startup or a new organization.
So, Aneal, let's turn to you. You took a more traditional route, I would say, than Raz or Karan, because you went to Western, did a double major in philosophy and political science, you said. How exactly did you get involved in Falcon Law? So, what was your experience like?
Sure. So it's generally the case that, at least in Canada and the United States, that after your second year of law school, you apply for a summer position somewhere, get some experience. You can get it in your first year as well, and that's pretty good if you can get some. But most law firms tend to look for someone with at least a couple years of law school experience. And it's a good way to dip your toes in before you're articling after third year. So as I was searching for law firms for a summer student position, I really had to think to myself, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to get experience? Because I might have a lot of interests, but I got to narrow down to get some real practical experience as my sort of first taste in the legal field. So I narrowed it down to construction law and corporate law. And I mean, you can search it right now, and Falcon Law is the first one that comes up. So as soon as I went through their page, I saw what they were all about and the unique stance they take to come at the law. I knew that this was somewhere that I really wanted to get into.
Yeah, and just kind of a follow-up for that as well. You said that you were interested in corporate and construction law, and I know Falcon Law practices many different fields. But I was just wondering what specific things about corporate and construction law draw you towards them and make you want to practice in those specific fields.
Sure. So corporate law is interesting because it's sort of like managing little countries. All the rules are set by the corporation, all the sort of decisions, it's all strategy and planning. So being able to give real advice to real businesses who are primarily focused on their operations. If it's a restaurant, they're focused on being a restaurant, not the sort of legal implications, even lending obligations or business development opportunities that a lawyer could provide. So I found that to be the main draw, sort of giving real good legal advice that could help progress businesses further and further. And with respect to construction law, I've always been interested in construction and building things, especially with real estate. So with construction law, getting the sort of the in with developers and contractors and sort of understanding the field is what really drew me to it. Also, I think construction makes up about 6% of Canada's GDP, and it's only growing from here. I mean, everywhere throughout the GTA, development is booming. So I see as the long-term prospects for construction law only going up.
I think Momina cut out. I don't know if she can hear me, Momina. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next question. I kind of wanted to know, and any one of you guys can answer this question, what a typical day in your career is like in terms of responsibilities and tasks. So I know it's kind of a broad question, and maybe each of you have different days. But if one of you wants to speak for all of you, yeah, you can go ahead.
So I was actually saying this to Aneal the other day. I told him get used to doing pretty much everything and anything in a single day. You have to consistently, turn your mind to sometimes working on a file, then you're working on your marketing, then you're working on accounting, then you're solving, client issues. So you're doing a variety of things, and you have to jump from task to task to task. And I feel that anyone who wants to become a lawyer, they don't necessarily have to have that skill going into law school or going into their first job. I think it's a developed skill, being able to manage multiple tasks, being able to manage, like I said before, all your files, your employees, the marketing and non-law aspects of your firm. So definitely, I think there's a lot going on in a day. And, my days personally, I'm just doing, the operational stuff of the law firm, as I just mentioned. But I'll let Aneal and Karan provide you their take on that as well.
Sure. So every day is pretty different when it comes to the specific tasks. But, generally you're working on like the real legal work. You're handling administrative tasks like, copying, filing, stuff like that. Mailing, substantive legal work, and then also business development, as Raz said, networking, making sure you're dealing with key contacts to grow the firm, especially seeing that it's a new firm. This is, I guess, more critical to get the word out and let everybody know what we're doing.
Yeah, so it's more than just law, I would say. You have to do a lot of other activities. I know some lawyers enjoy the other activities, some lawyers don't. So if you're entrepreneurial, you're business minded, then I would definitely encourage you to start your own firm once you become a lawyer, and you'll definitely enjoy those other tasks like marketing, accounting, and BD and all that stuff. And I'll let Karan.
I would just add on, you need to be flexible in your mind, even with the same task, like for example, real estate transactions. Every transaction is different. So this is not something which you're doing day in, day out. When you come, every day is a new day. So every transaction is a new transaction. It could have more complexities to it. So you need to be flexible. You need to be on top of your game to understand it and deliver what your customer wants.
Yeah, you've always got to be on your toes. It's hard to sit back
Yeah.
ever, especially when you have a small law firm like ours. Where we act as basically every facet of the organization. It's not like we have a marketing department and a human resources department. We are all of those departments, so you always have to be on your toes.
I actually wanted to ask you about that, Raz. So I know Falcon Law is a law firm that you opened up. Why did you choose this process rather than just becoming a lawyer at an already established law firm? And in addition to that, if you could discuss the steps that it took to open up Falcon Law.
Okay, so to answer your first question, I was a lawyer at a different law firm. So I articled, for the standard articling period, and then I was a lawyer with this firm that I articled with for about 2 to 3 months, and then COVID-19 hit, and I had this great idea of a virtual digital law firm. I was seeing that everything is going virtual. I mean, doctors were consulting their clients online. And I thought, why can't lawyers do the same? And I thought there's no better time than now to quit my job and start a virtual/digital law firm. And then so I did that around March, April last year. And the process, I mean, there was so much that went into it. It's hard to pinpoint certain things that I did. I mean, there was honestly so much. I mean, from registering the name to buying all of the softwares for the law firm. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I really had to spend a few weeks, maybe even a month or so, to really figure out and pre-plan how I can properly establish the firm and start the firm. And it wasn't. I was lucky in the sense that it wasn't just me. My brother, who also goes to the University of Leicester, he just graduated, so he was helping me as well. So it was amazing to have his assistance and help, which was with that help, I was able to successfully start the firm.
That's awesome. And congratulations on doing that. It seems very successful. And the fact that it's virtual is very, very cool, especially now in the pandemic. It seems like everything is virtual.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, and once again, any of you can answer this question, if there are any kind of cases that stood out to you the most. And obviously, it would be great to discuss example cases that you have dealt with. But if you do need to keep it confidential, I totally understand. So yeah, if there's any cases that kind of stood out to you.
So Christiane, so the premise of our law firm is we tend to take on the smaller cases and the more transactional based cases. The reason being is we can service these sorts of clients successfully online. And these cases are not particularly interesting. I mean, like real estate transactions, corporate transactions, there's nothing that stands out about them. It's not like, we're doing some gigantic litigation that's Canada wide or something like that, which we would be able to pinpoint and talk to you about. I would say we do more of the day-to-day stuff, the everyday kind of transactions, because that's who our law firm caters to. I mean, it's hard to service really large, you could say, litigations being a virtual law firm. I mean, you need to have in-person contact with those sorts of clients and those sorts of cases. And so it's really hard to mention any particular case.
One thing though, that I'd say, even though there haven't been any I guess landmark cases or anything like that, one thing that's been real interesting, I guess, especially with the construction work we do, is getting an insight into the industry. That just what sort of problems arise with sort of routine things. A homeowner wants a pool. What are the normal sort of considerations that go into that, or what happens when a small time contractor doesn't get paid? What's their course of action to get paid, especially when they need that for rent, for groceries for the month. So getting that insight and the more human aspect to it, especially when you're dealing with smaller clients, you really get to know the people you're working with.
And to add to Aneal's point, I think we get the opportunity to learn about a lot of industries. For example, he mentioned contractors and construction companies, and we get to see how these companies, work from the inside. We get to see what their issues are, how they're doing well, how they're performing badly, and we get to help them, as to their legal needs, their other needs, and all that sort of stuff. So that's one very fantastic thing. Not only do we learn about the law, we get to learn about other businesses, and that's why we thoroughly enjoy doing corporate law, business law, construction law, and things like that.
So of the laws that you do, because I know Falcon Law specializes in real estate, corporate, business, all of these different types. I'm just curious as to which specific type garners the largest revenue for you guys. Where is the base of your clientele, if you
I would say it's fairly even for the time being. I mean, all of them are generating, give or take, like equal revenues. It's hard to pinpoint any specific area, but I would say, construction is one of our bigger ones. Corporate is one of our bigger ones. Real estate is as well. And it's up and down given any month. I mean, you may have, for example, in the summer, real estate is very hot. So our real estate has been picking up for the past couple of months. So it depends on the time, I feel like, Momina, and yeah.
Cool. And I also wanted to know if there were any kind of, once again, any of you guys can answer it, misconceptions about lawyers that you hear about the most, or about the specific lawyers in your specific fields. And yeah, if there are any misconceptions to be addressed.
Misconceptions.
I'd say that when I started, I didn't really have any experience, dealing with lawyers or seeing how they conduct their business with each other. Pretty much all I would have, like my perspective would have been based on, TV shows, movies, that sort of stuff. So actually getting to deal with lawyers and communicate with them, even on active litigations, it surprised me to see how cordial and kind they are and helpful they are.
That's a good point.
Not everyone is adversarial and, looking to fight. Most of the time opposing counsel, they're pleasant enough to deal with.
I also have a point. So what I got to know that you don't have to read all those, like they're like 50 books lying in front of me. So which you generally find in the lawyer's office. I mean, if you apply your brains and you have the knowledge, when you're ready to learn. So yeah, it solves the purpose.
I think one misconception that I would like to mention as well regarding the legal industry is, there's a whole thing about, you need a mentor in the law. You need a senior lawyer to work with. I would say that, I don't really have any mentors in the industry. I've literally, self-taught by books, by the internet, by practical experience. So, that's one big misconception, that, you need to be working under senior lawyers, or it's always, you need to have them in your corner, sort of thing. I feel like I've been pretty independent, and I've been able to manage pretty successfully.
Momina? Oh, he's Wi-Fi. Oh, so I think Momina wanted to ask, Karan, how is your experience as a paralegal? And what is kind of the course load like, especially since you work full-time?
I have my interest in immigration and real estate law. So immigration is coming in my third semester. So I would like to get hold of that. And immigration is relatively down nowadays because of COVID-19. So once it picks up, that is one area as a law firm also which we are planning to target. But currently I'm more interested in real estate law, because when I came here, I was looking for a home for myself as well. And then I got to know, unlike India, everything revolves around real estate market. As Anil pointed out, that real estate construction contribute to so much in Canada's GDP. And the roles which lawyer have in all real estate transaction, be it sale, purchase, refinance, anything. So, and plus my experience back in India of dealing with customers. So in real estate, you have to meet customers, work solutions for them. Yeah, so real estate law is the area which I like most, and I'm working on it. And yeah, going forward, immigration is something which you want to target.
Awesome. And Aneal, I wanted to ask this question specifically to you. I know you are currently in the dual JD program at the University of Windsor and the University of Detroit Mercy. So I wanted to know what it was specifically that made you want to earn both a Canadian and American JD, and if you could possibly describe the difference between the two.
Sure. So I was born in New Jersey and I lived there for about 6 or 7 years. So I just wanted to keep my options open mostly. And I guess more as like an intellectual exercise, I figured that it'd be great to learn two legal systems and sort of have that comparative background. So those are the main draws for joining the dual JD program. Um, and, both schools are great. Windsor and University of Detroit Mercy, they both, the professors are great, the facilities are great there's nothing really I can say about the program. They definitely provide some good background, and the professors really try, especially at, I'd say, University of Detroit, to give you that experiential background. A lot of their degree requirements revolve around experiential learning, whether that's clinics or law firm programs or externships. There's a lot of opportunity at the University of Detroit to get some like hands-on experience. University of Windsor, all their courses cover the basics. Your first year there in the dual JD program, most of your courses are at Windsor: property law, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law. So, I mean, you get a good background in all the core courses that you'd need for the bar exam. And yeah, no complaints about either school.
I actually have a follow-up for you, Aneal, which is specific to Detroit Mercy. We have a lot of lawyers who have actually attended the Windsor and Detroit Mercy program, and they've all told us that it's extremely expensive, which makes sense. It is a dual JD and it is American and Canadian. So I was just wondering if you had any advice on the financial aspect for students, because scholarships, bursaries, these types of things can only take you so far. And if there was anything students could do financially if they do want to get that dual citizenship.
Sure. So I guess the first thing I can do is advise of the general tuition. Obviously, each year it's a bit different, but for Windsor, you're looking at about $18,000 per year. And for the University of Detroit, you're looking at about like 35,000 Canadian dollars once it's converted per year. So you're looking like generally around like 50 to 55,000 per year, not including living expenses, rent. But I'd say, so definitely compared to the other law schools in Canada, this is the most you'll ever have to pay. I think the next most expensive is University of Toronto at in and around 35,000 per year. So don't take the decision lightly. If you get accepted to the single JD program, and which I think would just be $18,000 a year, and you have no interest in practicing in the United States or any interest in American law, definitely don't do it if finances are an issue. I'd say the Scotiabank in Windsor, they provide a pretty good student line of credit, higher than most graduate program law school student line of credit. And I think they give preferential rates just because they're affiliated with the University of Windsor. So that's definitely one bank to look at for funding. But yeah, look for student line of credits, any assistance you can get from OSAP. If you're a permanent resident or sorry, if you have a green card or you're a citizen of the United States, look at funding from FAFSA. But yeah, all those are pretty good options.
Yeah, that's great advice. And Aneal, also for you as well, I know you have partaken in some research intern opportunities. And I was wondering how those research intern opportunities, if they did, benefit you in law school, and if you maybe recommend pre-law students in being involved in such research opportunities as well. Like, is there any transferable skills?
There definitely is. Like probably the most important skills you take away from law school are legal writing and legal research. So the better you get at doing research generally, the better you'll be doing at legal research. I mean, as Raz and Karan said, a lot of things you can find on the internet when it comes to the law. So being able to quickly find things, I mean, it's more cost effective. for your client. And I mean, you get what you need faster. But the research opportunities I had in particular, they provided good background knowledge, like with the Middlesex London Food Policy Council. It was provided good social understanding of food insecurity and also the food policy background in that area. And then for the Child Welfare Political Action Committee, I mean, that was very political focused, but it also gave some good social insight into the, child welfare policy considerations going on in Ontario. So yeah, it provided a good primer to understand the whole social context, right? You can better understand your clients, the people you're dealing with, and yeah.
Thank you, Aneal. So Raz, I wanted to ask you the next question, which was specific to Falcon Law. And I know this is a virtual law firm. So I wanted to know what specific challenges you've encountered with it being virtual and how you've overcome those experiences. I know this is a really new law firm, like you just opened it last year, but I'm just curious how you've dealt with it because I've never heard of a virtual law firm before, like we met you today.
So I think one challenge that I can think of right off the top of my mind that we've encountered as of recent is catering to the older clientele, to the more established clientele, to people who've been in the business for a long time. They've done things a certain way. They've done things in person. They're used to going to their lawyer's office and signing documents in person, face to face, and they feel like they get that satisfaction and that credibility if they go to their lawyer's offices. If they do it online, they feel like it's not the same thing. It's a little bit half, right? So to counteract that, I mean, what we've done is we've had a lot of conversations with these individuals. We've had to do presentations with them to explain our services, how they work. And I think it's been a learning curve for these individuals, for these organizations. But through our presentations, through speaking with them, through showing them in practicality how our organization operates, we've been able to convince many of them. Obviously, there's certain parties that we haven't been able to convince just because they've done things for a certain way for so long, and so be it. I guess that is not going to be our clientele. But what I can say is our clientele is generally younger. I would say more tech savvy, more forward-thinking organizations, maybe other virtual organizations. I know a lot of other industries have organizations which are completely virtual. So we've had a much better time in targeting those kinds of people. And our issue has been with targeting these more established, older organizations and people.
For sure. I think targeting like-minded people is definitely a lot easier. Now, I guess we're almost done with the questions, but this question I hope all of you can answer. If you can go back in time before, you even went to law school, and if you were able to talk to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self?
Can I start with this one? I got the perfect answer. So
Go ahead.
I said this to Aneal before as well. What I regret not doing is creating an internet presence and creating like some sort of a blog, starting to maybe post videos, some sort of content on the internet. Back when I was in law school, I always felt that I needed the validation or the approval of becoming a lawyer before I could start commenting on law-related things. I didn't realize, or I thought I couldn't, and quite frankly, maybe I was a little bit lazy as well. But I really wish that I started some sort of a blog. I wish that I started writing online, maybe creating some videos. I feel like that would have created a strong internet presence for me at that time, and it would have grew until today, where it would have been much bigger and better. So that's one regret that I have, and I would advise all the students listening to, don't wait till you become a lawyer. You don't need to get that seal of approval just to make blogs and provide your commentary online and provide videos online as to your opinions on various legal topics or maybe latest news and things like that.
I would say a couple things. a lot of students looking to enter law school, they usually have a lot of anxiety when it comes to schoolwork and stuff like that, you know. I guess schoolwork and their outward perception, you know, how am I being viewed by my peers, by my colleagues, by my higher ups. I would say just try as much as you can to have confidence in yourself and confidence that you're doing the best you can be doing. You know, it might seem like a rat race, but at the end of the day, it's always just a battle between you and yourself. So just to keep that in mind and just trying to do the best you can do. And the second point would be to start networking. When I was in my undergrad, I really didn't try to get to know people or, you know, meet new people or share new perspectives. But like even before I started law school, a few weeks before starting law school, getting to know who my future classmates would be really opened my eyes to what I missed out on in undergrad. Not necessarily that these are strategic alliances, which I mean, they still are, but the perspectives that your friends and peers can bring, you know, whether that's your development in the legal profession or even in personal matters, you know. So it's never too late to network, and I definitely wish I did some more of that.
Yeah, so I have not done an undergrad law, but all I can say, I relate to Hamraz and Aneal, that you need to harness your relationships because they are so important and vital in your life once you go on. So whatever relationships you build, maybe just go out, meet few people, even if it seems tough, because these are the things which will come pretty handy once you get into your business or maybe into your job. And yeah, be best at whatever you want to do. If you want to be a lawyer, maybe pick up a field, because law is such a vast area, and specialize in it, because there is so much to do in this country in field of law. But you have to pick up the area which suits you and which interests you, and yeah, be a best at it.
Perfect. Thank you. I think Momina's typing a question into the chat because her Wi-Fi is probably cutting out. So let me just wait a couple seconds for her to do that. And I think that will be our last question, and then we'll wrap up because it is getting close to 7 o'clock. So wait for Momina. You good?
Am I back? Am I okay? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're all good.
Perfect. I just wanted to say that that's going to bring us to the end of our session. And I wanted to thank you all for coming. And it's...
Oh, I think she cut out again. So yeah, basically as she was saying, that brings us to the end of our session. I want to thank you guys so much for coming to answer all our questions. Karan, Aneal, Raz, thank you so much for being here, talking about your careers as lawyers and your journey into the legal field. It was very, very insightful, and Pre-Law Shadowers is very, very grateful that you guys can take some time out of your presumably very busy schedule to be here. And for the people watching this session on YouTube, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to keep a lookout on for other Pre-Law Shadower sessions that we'll be having in the near future. So thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Oh, and Momina left.
Is it still recording or?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna stop the recording right now.
Okay.
All right, there we go.